everyone. I'm Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on. Now, later on, by the way, is when the roundtable shows up. We'll get into all sorts of controversies then, so stay with us for the entire half hour, which will include, among other things, a discussion about Habitat for Humanity and how you can help them. But where we want to start is with two big events and three great guys to talk about it. On my right, good friend, David Daggett, attorney with Daggett Schuler. His partner, Griff Schuler, is socially distanced behind us, and the two of them have brought a very special guest. He's been on the program before. Glad to have him back. Jade Costin is, among other things, owner and operator of Chick-fil-A at Thruway. But for the purposes of this discussion, he and David are co-producers of these big events we're going to be talking about. Welcome, guys. Good to see you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. David, you and Jade, as I said, are co-producers of something called the Smiley Triathlon Festival Weekend. What's it all about?
So it's the first ever Smiley Triathlon Festival Weekend where we combine the nationally acclaimed 18th annual Kids for Kids Triathlon with the adult Smiley Triathlon, this coming Saturday and Sunday events,
right,
for the first ever and biggest triathlon festival ever in our community.
I think that's great. Now, Jade, when we talk about Kids for Kids Triathlon, what ages of kids can participate in this? And are you going to try to designate certain types of activities for kids according to age, or what? Help me out on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Kids for Kids Triathlon is going to be ages 7 to 14. The 7 to 10-year-olds will have a shorter distance. The 11 to 14-year-olds will have twice the distance.
Right.
Fully monitored, fully supported, volunteers. It'll be a fantastic event for the kids.
Griff, why do you think these types of events are so important for the community and for the participants?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, Jim, is promoting a healthy lifestyle among folks of all ages. And I think that's one of the great things that David and Jade have done this year, bringing together the Kids for Kids triathlon, focusing on the young people in our community the first day, and then the second day, the Smiley race for the adults. And so it spans all ages.
Anything you want to tell us about, David, that we can expect to see if we show up on these 2 days?
Sure. So we have a couple of things. First of all, is we have for the adult race, we have Dream Team 255. 255 is the combined ages of the three competitors. Do the math.
Yeah.
The average age is 85 of the three men doing this team race.
Wow.
And then we have the world's only triple amputee who's ever completed an Ironman race, good friend of mine, coming up and joining us for the race, Rajesh Dubal. And he'll be the official starter at the kids' race. He'll be at registration. And then he's racing with us on Sunday. And the truth is, a lot of people are going to get beat by Rajesh in the race, so that's pretty cool.
Including me, if I went to it. Jade, in just a second, I'm going to let them put up on screen, the events and all this. But the one thing I won't have up there, I'm just curious, I forgot to ask, where is all this going to be held?
Sure. It'll be held at the Clemens West pool. And again, it's Saturday for the kids
Sunday,
race,
right.
Sunday for the adult race.
Well, since you mentioned that, let's do that.
Jake also has some bling. If you got 2 seconds.
I got
to-
2 seconds.
yeah.
Our race
Could I just show you? This
Wow.
is the.
Do we have? Let me see. Hold that over there. It's
That's the adult race
the
medal.
adult race.
Similar to what is given out in Ironman.
I'm too old for the adult race. Didn't you say the top age is 85? And then you got the kids thing on there. Isn't that great?
There's the kids
Just
race.
Hold that up. Let me put that
and
down.
actually, for all participants, both adults and on the kids race, we're going to have a fun run that on both days.
Wow.
That will have a kids medal as well.
That's so neat. This is pretty cool. Kid will like it.
We give everybody a championship experience.
Yeah, that's cool. I like
And
that.
we'll have folks at the end as a reception for folks as they're coming across the finish line. It's going to be fantastic.
Food and everything.
Yes.
Drinks.
Yep.
Yes.
You got
All
it.
right. I hope the sandwiches are from a certain place, but I won't say that. All right. Anyway, up on screen, Kids for Kids Triathlon. That's Saturday, July 24th, 8 a.m. So if you're watching the show on Saturday, get out there quick. Smiley Sprint Triathlon is on Sunday, July 25th at 7:30 a.m. So we encourage you to get out there. Now, for more information, you can visit kidsforkidstriathlon.com or SmileySprintTry.com. Those are two websites for more information on that and to get involved. And also a shout out to David and Griff. Their website's on screen if you ever need their help. DaggettSchulerLaw.com, 724-1234. Guys, this is a great couple of events, and I appreciate what you're doing. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jake.
We'll be right back. Back now on Triad Today, and always glad when we can talk about Habitat for Humanity, a great organization, and we have a great young lady with us right now that's going to help us through this topic, and we're going to ask for your help at home, too, about some things. Right now, on my right, Lauren Davis. She's Chief Development Officer for Habitat for Humanity of Forsyth County. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
I got a couple things on my mind I want to ask you, but first, just for folks who maybe just moved into the area or they didn't know too much about Habitat, what's the mission?
So our mission is putting God's love into action. We bring people together to build homes, communities, and hope.
Why is it, and this is the main thing I think we really want to get to, why is it important to have volunteers in the community help out with you guys?
So as I just said, our mission is all about bringing people together. It takes volunteers, donors, and our community partners to fulfill our vital work of helping bring affordable housing to those families in need here in Forsyth County.
And you and I were talking off camera a little bit about the fact that, of course, the pandemic, all pervasive, something that we will never forget, and how it affected so many people and hurt so many people. But even during the pandemic, you guys were busy. But how did it affect what you were trying to do with your mission, and how will it affect going forward? Bring me up to speed on that.
Absolutely. So when the world shut down last March, Habitat was no exception. We had to shut our restores down for 8 weeks, and we had to close our job sites to volunteers. In a normal year, we rely on 2,500 volunteers to help us fulfill our mission. And so fortunately, we were able to continue building homes. We were able to build 11 homes last year.
Wow.
And all of that was done by our 5 full-time staff, construction staff members.
Right. And this year, in your fiscal year, which goes over into 2022, part of 2022, what's your projection of how many houses you'll build?
We are planning to build 13 homes in this coming year.
Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are shaking their head. Yeah, I've heard about that. I've heard about building houses. I want to help out and build a house. And we're going to give you a website in just a second about that. But here's the thing. I think you sent me an email one day and said, let's not forget that there are other things that volunteers can do other than helping with the building of a home. Now, what did you mean by that?
Absolutely. So building homes is quintessential to Habitat. That's what people tend to think about. But there are a wide variety of volunteers opportunities that we have, mainly in our restores. So we operate 4 restores here in Forsyth County, and we need folks to help us in those, from stocking shelves, accepting donations, and helping shoppers pick out items for their home. We also have several specialized groups of volunteers that we rely on as well, from our board and committee members to specialized groups that help us with deconstructing kitchens. So when folks are redoing their kitchens and they want to donate those cabinets to us, we have a specialized crew that is expert at getting those out of kitchens so that we're able to then salvage them and sell them in our stores, as well as folks who help put furniture together so that we can then sell it in the restores.
I think that's great. Before time gets away from us, I want to put something up on screen here. HabitatForsyth.org is the website, the official website, habitatforsyth.org, and we really want you to check that out, because then you can make contact with Lauren and all the folks there and ways that you can help and get involved. But before time does run out on us, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious, what led you to want to work with Habitat? I mean, was there something in your background and that said, yeah, this is something I want to do, and what gratification do you get from it?
Yeah, so my entire career has been in nonprofit fundraising. I've worked for about 5 organizations in this area. And last year, when the opportunity presented itself to join the Habitat team, I couldn't help but be drawn to the mission. When we think about basic needs for people, we think about food, we think about clothing and shelter. And especially during the pandemic, when we were living in our homes, we were working in our homes, we were learning in our homes, it really became evident to me just how fortunate I was to have a safe home to be, and wanted to lend my skills to ensure that other people in our community were able to have that same benefit.
Well, I appreciate that you're working on our behalf, and I thank you for doing this today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be right back after this. On Triad Today, always glad when we can steal a few minutes away from this very important gentleman who has so much responsibility, and we're glad that we got him for a few minutes here. Good to see you, Dr. Pettit.
Good to be back.
Of course, Dr. Charles Pettit, President and CEO of Carolina University. And before we get into, there are a couple things I want to go over with you, but the first thing is, You know, there were so many people that were hurt, businesses, their lives disrupted by the pandemic. And yet, I saw something the other day that said even during the pandemic and up till today, that Carolina University is still one of the fastest growing universities in the nation. Now, explain how that could happen, A, and B, what do you attribute it to?
And during a year where all of higher education saw a drop off, I think there was something like a 7% or 600,000 students left higher education that year, and we had something like a 40% growth. And so it was our best year in our history for the enrollment side of things. We had a lot of other challenges, as you know. I think if you had to put it into a word, it'd be value, high quality academics and education that leads to great careers in well-paying jobs and high demand fields. And you tie that to affordability, and people like that. It's a no-frills approach. You get a great education at a great price, but you're not paying for endless hardwood and marble, and you're not paying for bowling alleys and all that. You're paying
Right.
for a great education, and people love that.
Now, speaking of education, I heard, and tell me if this is true, that you recently enrolled a child prodigy, and I know it wasn't me, so.
For me.
Yeah. Is that true? What was that about?
Yes, you may have heard this. There was a trending story, big social media story about a month ago. And a young man from Salisbury, North Carolina, 12 years old, graduated from high school with the highest GPA I've ever seen in my life. And he graduated from, I think, 2 community colleges at 12. Has started 2 businesses already. I think he's working for the Department of Defense or something.
12 years old.
12 years old. So every college wants, you don't get those very often. Everybody wants that student. And of course, we did as well. And I'm happy to announce that he's actually enrolled at our university this fall. And so we've made a package for him, and he'll probably get 2 more degrees with us in a few seconds. He's just like that. So
That's just amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing. Now, I heard you once talk about that the Carolina University is able to attract a broad range of people, a variety of people, and you used a term, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think I heard you one time use the term flexibility is the reason, and flexibility comes into play. What do you mean flexibility?
I use the term fast, affordable, and flexible. I've already talked about affordability just a bit. The fast, we now have a model that allows you to do an entire year of school for one price, but you're getting a large number of credit hours, about 39 credit hours, and you can finish a 4-year degree in 3. And so you do 15 credits in the fall, 15 in the spring, you knock out 9 in the summer, and your summers are still flexible because you can do that online or through modules. But instead of doing it over 4 years and paying for a 4th year of college, you do it in 3. So you're just paying for that block, basically. And so people love that. And then on the flexibility side, long before COVID came, we embraced tech-driven, web-driven education. So even our main campus students who sit in traditional classrooms and look at a live teacher in front of the room, they're doing a lot of their work online, and it's all tech-driven. In fact, when March 2020 came, and we had to send all those students home, no one had a learning curve. No teacher had to learn anything, no student had to.
Because you were already up to speed with it.
That's right. And so students can go back and forth. They can be on campus one day and online the next. And they love that flexibility to be able to go back and forth as they need to.
Let me throw another term back at you real quick before we lose time. Upward mobility, you talk about a lot with students. And does this have to do with this special scholarship you're offering?
Yes, and we have horrible upward mobility in our city. Poor people stay poor. We decided to do something about it. And so we're rolling out something brand new this fall, pretty exciting. We're offering a full tuition scholarship to anyone who qualifies as low income. You fill out your FAFSA, and if you actually qualify, you get a full scholarship for your first year, a full scholarship, and then a great scholarship in the last couple of years
I
after
just
that.
think that's fantastic. Man, that's just great. Up on screen, carolinau.edu. Please check that out, all of you, whether you want more information about scholarship, enrolling, and everything. carolinau.edu is the website. Dr. Pettit, thanks so much for being with us.
Our honor.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Triad Today, and throughout the pandemic, so many people have suffered tragically, and businesses affected and whatever. And of course, High Point Theater was one of those great performing centers that had to bear the brunt of that too. But now we're out of that, and lots of great positive things to talk about. A lot of shows to come up. So many of them, I need to get right to them, but I'm going to do it with Mr. Theater. Dave Riggs, director of High Point Theater. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Jim.
All right, a lot of things to get to. Let's
Yep.
start with, and I might mispronounce some of these things, you're going to have to help me. Tia Goins and Chelsea Sorrell, Saturday, July 17th.
Yeah, that's tonight. If you're watching on
If you're
Saturday,
watching,
if you're watching
right.
on Sunday, sorry you missed that show. Tia is an amazing. She's been on the Grand Ole Opry. She just released a new album. We're getting ready to, and a remarkable young country performer, singer, songwriter. And Chelsea Sorrell is from just up the road in Stokesdale, and she
Okay.
was a finalist on on American Idol. And her band is called Runaway Train, and they're local musicians, great group.
So again, if you're watching Saturday morning, you can still get out and see both of those
Yes.
things. Now let's move up to August 21st. Saturday, August 21st, Andy Gross.
Andy Gross is a phenomenal magician, and he does things, that are, you're standing 2 feet away from him, have no clue what he does. He does the big illusions, and he does the sleight of hand stuff as well. Really looking forward to having Andy with us.
Yeah, I sit 2 feet away from you, and I have no idea what you do either.
me
It's
and
a
my wife do
similar
the same
situation.
thing, yeah.
Now, our good buddy Billy Crash Craddock rolls into High Point Theater Saturday, August 28th. What can we expect there? If people don't know Billy,
Oh my gosh, Billy is 83 years old and still has the energy that he had 50 years ago. He is so much fun. It's a great concert. Really entertaining. He's got a brand new song called "I Want to Paint Your Toes." Rub it in, and I want to paint your toes.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any better than that. And of course, he was the first person to have a hit with "Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Oak
That's
Tree."
right. It wasn't Tony Orlando.
That's
It was
right.
Billy Crash Craddock. So a
remarkable
lot of
entertainment.
history there.
From right here.
And people of all ages can enjoy
Absolutely.
this stuff. Rodney Marsalis, Saturday, November 20th. We're looking ahead to the fall.
Yeah, Rodney Marsalis is part of our jazz programming for this year, and it's the Philadelphia Big Brass. And if the name Marsalis rings a bell, it should. He's the cousin of Branford and that family.
Yeah.
This is a phenomenal band, and I've actually been trying to work to get them in, and for the last 4 or 5 years, we finally made it work out, and then the pandemic hit, and then we rescheduled. So we've got them back in.
There are a lot of things I want to get to,
Yeah.
and some of this is out of order, but I want to jump ahead to 2022 for just a second. March 25th, the Jive Aces.
The Jive Aces are an amazingly high-energy group based in England, and again, they were one of those groups that got rescheduled. So it's a cross between jazz and pop, and if you like the Jukebox Group, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, you'll love these guys. It's just so much energy.
Right. Now, I'd like for you, we have a little time left, if you can give me an update on Ben Vereen and also Garrison Keillor.
Yeah, we're so excited to bring Ben Vereen to High Point. He'll be coming with a trio, so he'll be song and dance and stories and songs, and I think people are really going to have a fun evening getting to know Ben Vereen.
Is this later this year or 2022?
It's in 2021. It's
Because I didn't have the date on it. Sometime in the fall, isn't it?
yeah,
With,
October 30th.
October
Sorry,
30th
thank
for
you.
Ben Vereen.
Yeah,
And
October
then-
30th for Ben Vereen, and then shortly thereafter, we have the incomparable Garrison Keillor, who is a phenomenal storyteller. He's going to be there with Robin and Linda Williams, and they now call themselves the Hopefuls.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a great concert.
Yeah, I didn't mean to skip around on you, but
No,
I was
that's
trying to
fine.
get some stuff.
And that's in November.
Yeah, that's November. So the Jive Aces, the reason I brought that up, just to sort of cover my mistake, is that people can get season tickets and they can start looking ahead to things they want to see into 2022.
Exactly.
And I'm going to give the website right now. That brings me to this, because it's very important to go to the website. You can look at all of these things, get more details on the performers, see how far in advance, what shows you want to go to, hopefully all of them. highpointtheater.com. Remember, there's 2 T's in there when you type it in, highpointtheater.com. For tickets, so one of the easiest ways to do it is to call the box office. That's 887-3001, the High Point Theater, and I hope you will do that. Lots of great stuff, Dave. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and just about time for the roundtable, but another quick shout out to the good folks at Senior Botanical Garden. Adrienne Rothling and her team here do a great job. You can go to their website, but come on out to the garden, and if you want to book an event, a wedding, reception, luncheon, whatever, you can do that here too. Now, you can also sit around and listen to these 3 guys. We'll see what they have to say. On my right, but always the political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist, and socially distanced behind us, we have held over David Daggett from his triathlon segment, and Keith Granberry, I think, who also runs triathlons, don't you?
In my sleep.
Yeah, in your sleep. Founder of Helping Hands Consultants. All right, guys, let's get to it. We all know that during a crisis period, an oil shortage, a pandemic, or whatever, that presidents and governors will often get on TV and say, look, there'll be no price gouging during this crisis. We'll come down on you hard. Thing is, we're coming out of a crisis, and that's when the real price gouging is starting. A lot of prices up 40, 50%. Shouldn't the government step in now and say, wait a minute, I know you're trying to make up for lost revenue, but you can't do this, Ogie?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this inflationary spiral that we're in right now, it's not all supply and demand. Some of it is, but a lot of it's plain out gouging, pure and simple gouging.
Right, David?
I think the hard part for us to sort out is what's the gouging and what is the natural economic forces that are taking place, because there are issues of supply and demand and there are issues of gouging. Unfortunately, it becomes what's best politically, not best for all of us, and it's difficult.
Keith, what do you think?
I think it's taking advantage of the consumer, and I think it is gouging, and I think that the government should step in immediately to regulate some of this price war.
Yeah, we've really never done that post-crisis, and now we ought to do it. Okay, speaking of spending money, the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County School Board has contracted with an outside firm to help them hire substitute teachers. So they've hired somebody to hire somebody. Guys, my question is this a good investment or an unnecessary expense? Ogie.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're going to have somebody in-house do it if you don't if you don't contract it out. So, 6 of one, half a dozen others.
Yeah, I don't know the expertise of the contracted company. I do know that substitute teachers, it's very difficult to administrate and to find them right now. So perhaps this outside company has more expertise. But as Ogie says, you got to pay for it one way or another. So perhaps it'll work out okay.
Keith.
I don't think you need to hire an outside consulting firm to hire substitute teachers. I mean, there's a process that you have in place. Look at all of the people who need the jobs and hire them. But we also need real teachers in some of these schools who are suffering in the first place, and the pandemic has only made it worse.
All right, last week a Raleigh judge fined a local newspaper reporter $500 for having an audio recorder in the courtroom and then put the reporter's editor in jail for 5 days. The reporter said he was just trying to get more accurate notes during the trial. Did the judge's punishment fit the crime? And do you think it should be okay to have an audio tape in a trial? Ogie, what do you think?
I've been saying for years that reporters ought to be able to tape trials. The rule is you can't. I mean, you can't. I've gotten caught with a camera at a place.
5 days in jail for an editor?
But that's not right. For the editor, no.
David.
Well, what I don't know is what did the judge rule in the case and what were the judge's instructions and how blatant were the violations of the instructions. We also don't know from what you've told us what the subject matter is. Is that regarding a minor? Is it something confidential? You know, what is it? On some cases, I agree with Ogie. On other cases, including sexual abuse of a minor, it ought to be confidential and no recordings.
Yeah.
Keith.
I think it depends on the case. I mean, if this case is something that requires confidentiality and you get someone with a recorder in there, that violates the law, and that has to be a strict punishment.
Well, on the topic of the law, a 19-year-old Winston-Salem man was arrested last week on allegedly 4 counts of animal cruelty charges, and they're mounting those charges are. And please don't look this up because it describes what he was doing to these animals. It was horrible. In North Carolina, this is a Class H felony, so he might only get a couple years in jail. Shouldn't it be moved to a Class B felony so at least somebody like that would get 8 or 9 years? Ogie.
Yeah, kids that abuse animals grow up to be adults who are abusive in relationships. There's got to be punishment, but there's also got to be some counseling. Those are sick people that do that.
I don't disagree with Ogie. Look at the other side. This individual probably is coming from a situation that developed him and put him in that place. Jail's not going to cure him of that. We need a more counseling. We need more mental health intervention. We need to try to catch these people before the bad behavior instead of putting them in jail after the bad behavior. Unfortunately, we got to do both.
Quickly, Keith, what do you think?
I think Dave is correct. I think criminal justice system overall needs to be rehauled and reformed because we're putting people in jail for animals and more time than people getting for doing criminal acts. So they're getting more time. So I think we got to reform the criminal justice system, period.
All right. The city of Durham just started a new program where unarmed first responders will be sent out to handle nonviolent 911 calls. Police union criticized this move, saying, how do you know a nonviolent call isn't going to turn into a violent? Quickly, guys, are you okay with sending unarmed personnel out to handle 911 calls, Ogie?
Well, a lot of people are going to be looking at Durham to see how this thing works out. That was one of the things that the police reform movement advocated to do that. I think it's okay, but I mean, I'm curious to see how it pans out.
Mr. Daggett.
It's interesting, as you know, I do a lot of teaching with the EMS Academy. The EMS personnel frequently respond to 911 calls. They are unarmed and there's dangerous situations out there. So it's actually already happening. The key question is when to and when not to, and that's what needs to sort itself out.
Keith.
I think it's absolutely crazy. That's like having these security guards at the mall. What are you doing? People getting shot. A security guard got shot at the mall recently. Why aren't you armed? Do not send an unarmed person out to me to solve an issue, because you don't know if it's going to turn violent. And then if it does turn violent, what are you going to do about it?
I agree. Now, finally, guys, a new study from China says if you wake up in the middle of the night a lot, that it's because your furniture's arranged wrong. It's a feng shui type thing. Guys, you wake up in the middle of the night a lot, and is it because of feng shui?
I do, but it's not that.
David.
Darn, I thought Ogie was going to tell me to feng shui at home, and I was going to go home and say, Cindy, let's feng shui.
Yeah, that sounds bad to me. Keith, do you wake up a lot in the middle of the night? And
Do I wake up a lot in the middle of the night?
Never mind.
Yeah, I do, but not for those reasons.
Yeah. Me either. I do too, but mine's not because of feng shui, it's because of feng pi. All right, well, that's all the time we have, except for this. An Ohio man brought back a Bob Dylan album to his local library 48 years after he checked it out. He was embarrassed. He told the librarian, "I'm sorry for bringing back the Bob Dylan album so late." She was nice. She says, "Don't think twice. It's all right." See, that's a Bob Dylan lyric.
Yeah, right.
All that for that. All right, so we're all going to wake up tonight and think about it. I'm Jim Lager. We'll see you next